Hi, everyone. I'm going to give some comments now about this group's um, photographs. So the theme on this one was it was about um, parks, public parks, and um, the idea of keeping them better maintained. And so what we have in here are some pictures of some parks that are badly maintained, and then by comparison, some pictures of some parks that show something more ideal. Show the there's ways that this that parks can be nicely maintained. And one thing that I see off the bat that I think was really a good decision, um, choosing a nice, beautiful, pretty blue day for the parks that are well maintained, and choosing, more of a hazy, gray, overcast day for the parks that are poorly maintained. This is just a kind of mood reinforcement. If you're trying to drive home a point of a point about, this is good, this is bad, these are little subtle kind of subliminal things that you can do to further enhance the mood or the spirit, that the picture is seen within. Now, I do feel like while several of these are nice, interesting images, I'm not sure that most of them are as successful as they could be, both as images just in and of themselves, and also as communicating what you want to communicate. Um, so I had a few comments on these. One of the things that you want to do is play up the wear and the tear on these things, and I feel like in most of these, too much background is included. It's almost like, for example, the the broken part of this fence is not emphasized. And that's too bad because it's really making an interesting shape. I don't know if it would have been possible to get on the other side of the fence, but when you've got like a rusted, deteriorating fence in front of more of the same fencing material, this really interesting jagged edge here, I had to squint to find it. Wouldn't that work better if you took advantage of that negative space um, in such a way that, say, whatever was on the other side of it was much more contrasting, the sky or something. So I think that while that was a good subject, I don't think that your placement was necessarily the best call. I feel like a lot of these were going around and taking pictures of stuff, but not necessarily really working with these things to really really play up the drama, and that's kind of something that you want to do. Even this one, it's not a bad image, but I think it doesn't look terribly problematic. That's not the worst, graffiti that you've ever seen. The rust line along here is pretty bad, but once again, it's so de-emphasized that if I didn't know the the title or the theme of your photo essay, I wouldn't know that that's what you were trying to get at with that picture. The two pictures of the bridge, again, I think that both of these are important things. The missing plank, the nails sticking up, the missing rail here. Clearly this is a very dangerous bridge. Um, is it really photographed in a way that plays up that danger? Are these really good compositions, and are these really compositions that, to the best possible extent, play up that idea? And I don't know that they are. I think I would have liked for you to try many, many, many more variations on these. This one has a little bit more of a look of abandonment. We do have this road that's kind of leading off to nowhere, which is kind of nice. I mean, I think that could be played up. This road kind of just leading off into who knows what kind of non-maintained decay. But I think the placement's a little bit unfortunate, for it. It's kind of shoved off to the side, and it's kind of leading you off the page just a little bit. So, I think these all start with good intent, but could probably have been. Sometimes you have to take literally 100 pictures, and sometimes get yourself into like a very uncomfortable position, even, and just get really creative when you're thinking about what you're trying to do. Now these next ones, I think, there's a couple of these that are. This one has a tremendous amount of potential. This is the kind of thing that suggests a park that is abandoned or not maintained. The empty swing, the broken swing. A swing without a child in it always tells you something right there. Why is there so much other stuff in the picture, I guess, is what I want to know. So once again, is everything else in here really necessary? Would it not be more interesting if you let these two things fill the frame? Or maybe even turn the frame vertically and let these two things fill it that way. And the same thing for this one. I had to read your caption before I even knew what you were trying to get me to see, because I didn't notice that the problem was that swings were missing here, because they're so small and not dominant. These are very, very dominant, and I couldn't see anything wrong with them. All of the big dominant things I couldn't find anything wrong with. So I was a little confused until I read your caption. So this would be another one. How you would pull that off, in that particular light on that particular day, I'm not sure. It might have been something to come back at another time of day when there was some more ominous shadows or something like that. Garbage, abandoned garbage at a park is always disturbing. Sorry about that noise there. Is always disturbing, but a single bottle brown in front of a busy brown background, and the bottle is not much more than a speck on the size of the whole frame. At first glance, you look at this and, like, again, it's kind of like, well, what am I looking for? And I think that if you wanted to play up abandoned beer bottles or something, you probably need to get a lot closer and maybe even get down right on the level with the beer bottle, to really play up the drama. These two are good photographs. I can't tell what they are, and they don't necessarily make me see that there's much of a problem. In this case, you did get in close, but they're almost just like so interesting that, this one comes across as very, very abstract, and I was drawn to it right away. But I didn't realize that it was a ladder with faded paint. I really didn't know what it was, and it didn't bother me because it was an interesting composition. This one probably gets that point across a little bit more, and then. In this case, I might have said, just show a little tiny bit more of those monkey bars, just so that I can actually once again tell that they are monkey bars. because it looks like a very interesting rusted yellow object, that I can't quite tell what it is. And so I really like the idea of, showing what a park can be. It might have been interesting to even alternate every other picture. That might have created a little bit more contrast. I'm just kind of throwing things out there. A decayed park image and then a nice park image, a decayed one and then a nice one. Of these, though, most of them I'm going to have the same criticism. The only one I think that really, really is a nice composition and really gets the point across, like, yes, this is nice and shiny and new and it's a beautiful day, and I can see that court is freshly painted, is this one right here, because the new stuff is big. It dominates. Here I'm like, what am I looking for? Oh, these little things. Okay, well, they do look newish, but they're not featured. There's way too much other stuff going on in here. I can see at a glance that these look nice, but do I really need all the other stuff in here? Would these not look better if they were more featured? And with the ditch, it's just kind of hard to tell. It's like, well, it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it, but you can't really tell it's new or anything. So I hope I'm not coming across as too critical. I'm just trying to get you guys aware that there's thinking that we want to do that goes behind the difference between a snapshot and a photograph. And so now that you guys have learned how to take photographs, the next level then is to become mindful and masterful and have control over how those photographs communicate. And so I hope this I hope this was a good experience for you all, and I'm glad that you got the chance to work together and think about these things. And so overall a pretty good job. But I just wanted to point, always there's something that always can be a little bit better. But okay, so that's all.